Good evening. We greet you from the beautiful land of Guyana, located on the northeastern coast of South America. A land that was set like a gem by God Almighty between mountains and sea. Located between the Imataka, the Akarai mountain ranges, the Pacaraima mountain range, the Kanuku mountains, and the Comoa mountains to the south, and of course, the Atlantic Ocean to the north. A land where free men and slaves sacrificed to ensure that we are free today and we have the liberties that we have. A land of 6 peoples, united and free. We salute you from Guyana, our good, dear, green Guyana.
This evening we want to discuss the whole notion of our independence because we're going into that season, that period. On the 26th of May 1966, Guyana became an independent nation, and that had tremendous meaning to all of us then and now. As an independent people, it meant that we were able to govern ourselves. It meant that we were able to make our own decisions as we see fit, as we see as important in terms of going forward. So we have our own flag, our own symbols of nation, with our own flags, our own songs, our own money, and so on. And so these things are important because it meant that people were not making decisions for us. And when I say people, basically it was the British who made decisions for us. They told us what our law should be, how we should live, and what they expect. But to be independent meant that you now have your own sovereignty and the ability to make your own decisions for a nation. But that is not just something that should be taken for granted, because with independence comes responsibility. And it therefore meant that as a people, we need to be responsible for our actions as we attempt to go forward as a nation. Because if we become irresponsible, you could very well find yourself slipping back into a situation where people control you again. And so it is important that as an independent people, some watchwords be hedged in our minds, like collaboration, cooperation, networking, and so on. So as a nation, we could continue to advance and to develop. Gentlemen.
The burdens of freedom, as you were describing and doing the introduction, it is important for us to really think about freedom, but at the same time, in the same sentence, we must massage the concept that freedom comes with, as you quite rightly stated, Dr. Watson, major responsibilities, and I dare say burdens. And it's like fatherhood, it's like motherhood. The awesome burden and responsibility it is to achieve those landmarks in this life. And so we want to think about and encourage us. Recently I noticed in the media, Ghana was described as the richest. Ghana could be the richest country in the world. That is a burden, you know. Yeah, it will. Some people say they stop work. Because see, if we're rich, we don't have to work anymore. But whatever you're doing now in terms of being progressive, you'll have to do more of that. You'll have to work harder. You'll have to be more creative. You'll have to be more innovative. We'll have to be, some of the words you talk about, we'll have to network in a greater way. We'll have to diversify. We'll have to protect our young, protect our children. By heavens, we have to protect our women folk. We have to love them, and we have to take care of them. We have to protect them from ourselves. I'm talking to men. Stop beating, injuring, and harming our women. Where are we going with that? That is devilish, it's evil, it's satanic. If there is a problem, find someone who's mature, who would be able to help and resolve whatever it is. Let's stop this madness that we see taking place in our country. We need to grow on every front, and we need to do so together.
Bishop, I want to draw on something you said, and I want to use the term the way you use it, stop up. At 53, prospering, and decide that I don't stop work. And I'm thinking about the scripture, the young man that had a bountiful harvest, and he said to himself, I will break down my barns, and I will build bigger ones, and I will say to my soul, relax, take it lightly. And God said to him, thou fool, this night thy soul is required of thee. So you stop work. What happens to the bounty? What happened to all that you would have acquired? What happened to your offspring? How will they be sustained? So as a nation, I'm thinking, should we fall into a mode of being unproductive because we believe that we have reached a place? You know, what happened to those that are coming after us? How will they be able to be sustained? What guidance is there for them? How do we lead them into the future?
But I mean, I was hoping that you'd look into the camera because it looks as though you're talking to me, you know.
Who's working?
And I'm doing everything that you've said.
Yes.
I really wanted you to look in that camera and talk to the people out there. You know, Israel is 71 years, was just celebrated on 14th of May, 71st anniversary as a nation. It is unbelievable what they do. And every single day, they survive and prosper in the midst of their enemies, people who don't have good feelings towards them. And their progress, it's monumental, phenomenal, these kinds of wars. And the idea is, if we mustn't compare ourselves with people who just getting by. Let us lift our sights and decide to work together. You know, Paul, one of the verses I really love, Paul was at Mars Hill in Acts chapter 17, I think, and he was addressing the philosophers in I think it's verse 23. Therefore, yes, the one whom you worship without knowing him, I proclaim to you. God who made the world and everything in it. Yes, we believe in a God, so we have no apologies there. Paul said to them, God who made the world and everything in it, since he is Lord of the heaven and earth, does not dwell in temples made with hands, nor is he worshipped with men's hands as though he needed anything, since he God gives to all life, breath, and all things. He didn't stop there. And he has made from one blood every nation. All of us must hear this. He made from one blood every nation of men to dwell on all the face of the earth. Not only that, he has determined their pre-appointed times. That's why I said confident in 2019, knowing that I am in the right time. So I don't really look over my shoulders looking, saying, well, those are the good old days. These are the days.
Yeah.
You know?
No.
So he has appointed, we determined their pre-appointed time. Now you and I, whoever you are, you might be a barber, you might be a butcher, you might be a banker, you whatever you are, an economist, a politician, and you're running now, you have the baton, run your leg well. Don't run the race and start fighting with the other team. Run your leg well. All of us have to do that because he has appointed the times and the boundaries of their dwellings. You know, he determined that we should be born in this wonderful country called Guyana that Orson described so eloquently in the introduction. It is amazing. So we have to be responsible for this land. You and I.
You know, Bishop, you mentioned Israel in the midst of their enemies. And the scripture is clear about it. That God prepares a table before us in the presence of our enemies. So we might have an opportunity to see how Israel is situated, because we're around a tour, we're going to see that place, and how God, because the bounds of their habitation, He set it in such a manner that even if people try, or nations try, to do anything wrong to Israel, God has promised to protect them.
You know, when you mention their enemies, God prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemy, I draw a comparison between the enemy and having enmity. Now, myself and the enemy can be reconciled at any time, but enmity cannot be reconciled, because this is against the individual. Your whole operation's gonna be antagonistic. So there'll be never reconciliation. In this independence, my prayer would be for reconciliation. Yes, we can have enemies, Chennai versus Mumbai. At the end of the game, there is reconciliation. Whatever we do in this independence season, I am asking that we approach it in such a way that we could reconcile with each other. Listen, there is a worldliness that is enmity against God. And if we get rid of that and we become who we are, a God-fearing and a God-loving people, we are going to be very productive in this country.
You know, one of the problems we had just after 1966 was claim to our territorial integrity. You know, Paul describes the fact that God has determined the bounds of our habitation. And there was a covert action by the enemy, well, our neighbors, I should say, to seize our territory. In fact, that the Venezuelans, they seized part of Ancoco, which rightly belonged to us.
Amen.
Now, the fact that we are 83,000 square miles, the fact that we are now discovering what some of our national songs spoke about, the rich El Dorado, it behoves on all of us to be even more responsible and at the same time watchful that while we reap the benefit of what God has blessed this country with, we need to ensure that, like you rightly said, that there is a unified effort among this land with 6 people, so that as we move forward forward as a whole and not in part. So the benefits that we will reap, okay, will be bequeathed to all Guyanese.
Our God, you great mother,
Yes.
and make us to be more worthy of our heritage, land of the free. I think that adequately captures what you just said, because, I mean, I was so happy that when they wrote our national anthem, they placed those words, because it's evident that God has been protecting us as a land, because we don't have the military might to defend ourselves against those who threaten to invade us and take over our land. But God has been guarding us, and it is up to us to make ourselves worthy of that heritage, worthy of that wealth that God has obviously laid in this lush green land of El Dorado.
As we remain committed to God, and rightly so, God will provide, the protection that we need. And so sometimes as a people, we, could run away with the idea that we could do everything within ourselves. We want to see the nation transform, we want to see development and so on, but it is going to be the people. And yes, the people, they have a contribution to make, but we can't rule out the fact that we need God at the center of our actions and of our desires. And I just want to draw attention quickly to what Peter said in 1 Peter 2:6. He says, live as people who are free. Yes, live as people who are free, not using your freedom as a cover-up for evil, but living as servants of God. And so sometimes the freedom that we have, the ability to make our own decisions, we make these decisions to the detriment of other people, misleading people and taking them down a pathway that will lead to their destruction. We need to live as people who are free, but we also need to live under the rules and the regulations that God has put forth.
That freedom that God has given to us, it comes with responsibility. And God has given us that freedom. The same God who has blessed us, who has determined our habitation, is the same God has given to every man time and opportunity. And we need to maximize the time, as we spoke earlier about the importance of work, and not just to relax, because we seemingly arrive. But we need to be more diligent, and at all fronts, in our research and development, in our investment, seek ways and means. Bishop, you talk about diversifying. As a nation, I believe this is our time, that we need to jump at these opportunities.
And these shouldn't just be words. For example, the education system, we need to deliver in a more efficient manner and encourage and attract young people to STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. We need to bring them. We need to model this in the plays that we make. We need to go into the neighborhoods. We need to. I remember one summer, a friend left us in primary school. When he returned in September, this guy was top of the maths program in the entire school. A navigator called him one day and said, "You running, making a lot of noise, I want to sleep. Bring your book here," and in the afternoon, and taught him the principles of mathematics. That guy, we could never catch him again. We need to somehow, in everything that we do, we need to make it like Dr. Lee, Claude Lee says, mathematics is fun. We need to make engineering fun. We need to make science attractive, technology attractive. There are many jobs outside there, and we'll be creating a whole set of jobs. Everybody can do business and sociology and social work. There's a place for that. But we need to start churning out young men and women who will be able to really influence that kind of that place in our economy.
Bishop, there is the community. In the community, we have different persons with different skills. You think that they could harness the youths and start teaching them about changes and all these things, and I think we would be better in our educational.
But
Dr. Monroe made an observation that I agreed fully. He said the highest form of government is self-government. And what we need to do is not to make people dependent on regional and governmental systems. We have to find a way to teach the poor and the powerless the importance of governing, recognizing what they have, and going for it, come what may. Recognizing what they have. We have some stories that I've read, and some of the people I've had the opportunity of meeting, who are really, they live in abject poverty, and a mother or a father working their fingernails off because that child is brilliant. I just heard of a story of three siblings, and there's a rich man in the community took them on, financed their education, and I mean, all three of these children are into medical. They're interested in medicine, and here is someone who is not connected by blood. But that's the kind of thing you look and you see people who understand how they can govern their own resources and taking responsibility, and you give them help. And I believe once we keep doing that, recognizing, keep doing that, suddenly we will find a whole set of people who could pull this nation in the right direction.
Another way we can approach it too is when you look in communities, lots of our young people, they go out of the community, for example, for to do extra work like lessons and so on and so forth. But one of the ways we can do this, we need to look in these same communities. They are retired, no matter how poor a community seemingly is. There are people living in those same communities, retired nurses, teachers, doctors, farmers. Find those people and let them, because they live in the community, they have an understanding of the problems, and they also have the ability to solve those problems. But we have to come together, we have to work together and find those people with the experience, the talent, and the passion, and we will see greater results.
You know,
Well
Community
said,
by
well,
community by
well
community.
said, countryman. You're talking of mining
Yes.
the assets
Yes.
in our community, and I agree fully. And we need to do that. Sometimes we look into London,
Yes.
and London, they might be sympathetic, but their help might come with certain preconditions. You're looking to a country overseas, and they're saying, yeah, we understand your program, but their help might come with certain preconditions. We need to, what you say, mine our communities, looking for the assets that are already there.
You know, independence comes with a sacrifice, and following up on the point that you've made. And so people, they have to have this commitment and dedication to see advancement. And I just want to reflect on an experience I had down in Fresno, California. We were taken to a school called the Susan B. Elementary School, and this school was like one of the worst schools down in Fresno. And today, it is the top primary school or elementary school in Fresno. What they did, people who retired, as you mentioned, those people who retired, they give their time, their energy, their effort to the transformation of the school. You know what? They did not ask for money. And so, I'm not saying that people don't need money, but sometimes you need to make a sacrifice, and when you make that sacrifice, you could lay back and see generations enjoying that sacrifice. Today, that school, there were people who were good, who retired head teachers, retired managers who went to the school, retired sportsmen who actually went and developed a sports program and so on. And so, if you see the rush now to get to that school, from the bottom right to the top, because of the sacrifice that the people who are willing to make, going back to what you said, they mine the assets, they draw from the different resources around them and change.
That is Dr. Hudson, as the Minister of Education, I'm thinking, what can we do? For example, I have as the Chief Education Officer.
We must put our brothers in the
Yes,
yeah.
thank you very much. I start to
But you might be prophetic, you know.
My concern has been, for example, for a number of years, we have been topping the Caribbean nations in the sciences, in math, and all these areas. And people write 20 CXC, 15 CXC. What happened to those people? Sometimes, you want to know if they fall through the cracks. Is there a program that we can help and harness those talents and those gifts? Give them over to research. Let them. Some of them shouldn't work for the rest of their life in terms of going for a job. But because they're so bright and so gifted, they have been given to research in specific areas
That's
that
work by
develop this country. That's hard work. How can we help those people?
I think your comments, I know your comments.
I want to make a case here, an appeal, if I may, to us celebrants and countrymen. I had an experience on the road in Republic Avenue, Avenue of the Republic, where I saw a young man threw a bag out the window that he was consuming a beverage. Then we put him in bags with a straw. And I left the car because it was a traffic light. And I went up to him and said, I can't believe you did that. and I was about to pick it up, and he said, "Big man, don't do that." And he came out of his car, and he picked it up and took it to his car. I was asking myself, I ask myself all the time, is nasty we nasty, sir? That our city, and not only the city, but communities, I went to Port Kaituma, is green and plastic. Can we make an effort to clean this city, clean our communities? I am privileged to certain locations where we are in the extractive sector and the preparation for the wealth that is coming. Not a single piece of paper or plastic or tin can be seen anywhere. And you walk out of these compounds and come back, you wonder if you're in a different country.
Mindset.
Yeah.
So let us, I think it's a worldly mindset too. Because man of God, I don't think that a man of God could knowingly, a man who has the Spirit of Christ in him, could drink something and pelt this thing through the window. So let us adjust and deal with a godly mindset.
Well, you've been praying for the entire program. You have 56 seconds.
I would say it's a wicked mindset. But Jeremiah 17 made his observation. Heal me, O Lord, and I shall be healed. Save me, and I shall be saved. For you are my praise. And as we celebrate this season, I pray that we will not just celebrate the riches and the potentials of this land, but we will celebrate ourselves as a people. I'm a proud Guyanese. I love to be a Guyanese. And let us all find a way to work together, because the hands of God are really on this land to fulfill His divine promises and potentials over the land. And He's looking for hands to do so. You are a good hand. You are a qualified hand. You are a gifted hand for God to use. Now, this is choice. You choose. May God richly bless you.
We thank you for joining us on Choices today. Remember, you can join us at First Assembly, LNP Durban Street, Workmanville, Georgetown, Guyana, for any of our special services. I'm Celicia on behalf of the set, reminding you that your whole life is the sum of your choices. God bless you.